Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting ready to wrap up the day here at LCS Week 3, Day 1. And we're going to be hopping into, again, the most exciting series for me personally, is we're going to be having Team Liquid versus Immortals. And we know that Team Liquid has been undefeated, but I want to start with Immortals so far here. They're sitting at 3-1. And for myself personally, I'm excited to see this team, but I think that they've shown a little bit of one-dimensional drafting so far.
I don't mind one dimensions if it's the dimension that always gets you the dub. So IMT have been doing very well. I think with Joey and Potluck have been really stepping it up. The rest of the squad are really coming together. But these are the members that had some extra games in the LCS before the main roster played through. And they looked really good. They looked very dominant. Joey and Potluck definitely had games that they each solo carried, whether it was by individual play or assisting the rest of the squad. So this is a lineup that I'm really excited about because of their incredible improvement from how Immortals was last year in LCS and Academy. And this time around, this is just an entirely new look. And it's always refreshing to see that teams that were struggling are finding their stride.
Yeah, and you love to see new talent and new players coming up and being alongside, Pollock and Joey, as you mentioned, names that we've seen before but haven't gotten a whole lot of necessarily. And it's glad to see that they're finding so much success this time around on this Academy roster, and also bringing in Keith, another great name that we've heard before in the AD carry position. We can see some of the plays that they're pulling off, like that engage that we just saw there coming out by Joey and Pretty on the Orianna, just completely pull CLG apart. It's the Wombo combo that we've been hoping to see today, and I'm hoping we'll see it again out of Immortals in this game in the series.
There is Wombo combo that you can see, but every time today that we've tried to get a synergistic engage, never works out, right? The engages was always flopped. The coordination wasn't there. Maybe the right champions weren't together. But what we have seen that works out is these crazy bruisers with the healing from Moonstones, wherever it's coming from. So Olafs, Renekton's, Hecrims, these two in particular, the Olaf and the Renekton, have been an absolute tear. And so I'm fully expecting Blue Side to pick those if they're not banned.
Yeah, and speaking of the other side here, Team Liquid Academy, another fantastic team. We've hyped them up all day so far. They're 4-0 so far, the only undefeated LCS Academy team left here. And a lot of that is because they don't play these bruisers in the top lane. Jenkins on this Kennen, a phenomenal top lane player. We've seen him in Academy for a while now. I know he was there last year. His Kennen got banned out last week even, and they still were able to win on it because he has a mean Camille in his backside of his pocket. So he has been tearing it up in the top lane. We see, look at that engage there, solo picking up the Aphelios and finding a huge team fight for his team.
I think Team Liquid has been very exciting this year, not just the LCS, but the Academy roster. I think Jenkins has been a standout Kennen player, and the meta really favors him now, and that's really good. But the bottom lane, I think, has been the most impressive thing for me out of Team Liquid, being able to get solo kills, just like their main squad. Ayla with a great champions, lots of engages, good synergy with Yon, who's playing all the highly relevant champions again. And this is it, right? Bam, solo killing to the bottom lane. What more do you want? It's entirely without any jungle pressure. No junglers are even remotely nearby. And these are the kinds of advantages that can just win you the game without any coordinated effort. You just were good enough at your role, and suddenly your team is now winning. And it feels like Team Liquid has some members that are pulling that off on top of really good drafting that it puts them at a 4-0.
Yeah, Team Liquid just all around showing dominance, showing strength in just about every way imaginable. Drafting, how they play the game, their coordination, all of it looking so good so far. But we did hear last week from Kangas and Joshi that their schedule has been a little bit on the weaker side. They've played a lot of these teams that, aren't the top side of the brackets. If I take a look really quick here, they were playing against... They played against Evil Geniuses, TSM, Golden Guardians, and Dignitas, all teams that were 1-3 coming into this week here. So now that they're finally playing up against Immortals, another team that has gone 3-1 here, it should be more exciting to really put Team Liquid to the test. See, do they have what it takes to be this outlier, this top of the board? Because if Immortals win this game, it is now tied up FlyQuest, TL, and Immortals all at 4-1 apiece, whereas TL wants to hold on to that first place position. They want to go 5-0 here and really put themselves just a notch above everybody else.
Absolutely. It would only be a notch against above Cloud9 though, so it would separate them from the competition, at least one team with IMT, but Cloud9 still hot on their tails despite who wins this series. That will be the team that whoever reigns on top will look to next.
Yeah, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know, or with that, Crumbs, I want to know kind of for this series in particular. I'm super hyped about the draft just because, as I was saying before, Immortals, they've drafted a lot of the same things. They've played Gnar 3 times. They've played Jhin 4 times, so that's the only AD carry we've seen out of Keith so far. I want to see what happens if this Jhin gets taken away, and I want to see how TL, who you mentioned has a great draft, how they're going to be able to pressure this one-dimensional draft that I was mentioning Immortals has, and you have any ideas of how they're going to plan their attack towards this?
I don't know, but there is a similarity in the Team Liquid's teams in Academy and LCS in that they're both coached by former casters. So I think that's an exciting thing to see, that people that have an incredible experience watching games to be like, well, I remember this one champion that worked this one time. So there's a lot of patterns and synergies that I think casters can offer for drafting composition. So here I think Team Liquid's experience from that should play out pretty well, and especially with our Mao, I think he has had so much time to improve now that it's starting to show off now, right? He had that injury with TSM that he was not able to start for the main roster, kind of had a rough year on TSM, but now sub for Team Liquid, who did very well at the start of the year. And you have to imagine they're learning a lot, because a lot of the academy players keep talking about how much they learn from the main roster. Well, you've got Centauran now to teach you if you are our Mao, and that is one of the best junglers, if not the best jungler we have in the LCS. So when you have all these players that you can constantly look to and improve to, that are in your team, that you can talk to and ask about, man, that's a big resource to improve.
Yeah, and I think what Crumbs is trying to say here is that if you're looking for a good coach, he's offering his inside knowledge as a expert player himself and a caster. But it is really interesting to see these dynamics that you have from the organizations. You're bringing in old casters, you're bringing in your LCS current rosters in order to help out your teammates, even for the likes of Jenkins, Haro, Yon, Ayla, they're all getting help from Amaro, who has gotten some stage time as well. And then, as you're mentioning, getting some help from TL's main roster, learning a lot of these different things that you don't necessarily do in solo queue that you have to be able to perform when you're playing at the highest level of gameplay. Things like, coordinated attacks and planning out where you want to go and how you want to attack the map at a very specific time.
Coordinated engages there. Can you stack crowd control well enough to kill somebody that has flash? I think that's usually the biggest thing that you have to be able to pull off as a team, right? Let's say there's an Orianna with flash and you've got enough crowd control on your team. She has Merc Treads. Can you kill her before she flashes out, right? Those are the kinds of plays that you need to be able to pull off, because if you can consistently do that, the map is your oyster. You do whatever you want.
Yeah, we've been saying it all day. It's the small things that make the biggest difference when it comes to the top level of League of Legends here, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like we are having a little bit of another technical difficulty when it comes to getting this champion select set up, so bear with us, audience. It is going to be hopefully the last technical issue of the night, but knowing how the cast of curse works, I've doomed us for a pause later on, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, you're welcome, Crumbs. I apologize. But hopefully we get to see this game starting soon here, and for myself, I want to see, I keep coming back to it, I want to see how Immortals is going to be able to pressure Team Liquid here. Is the Gnar going to be played again today? We haven't seen it at all in the games earlier today. I think that the Renekton pick is just a little too scary. These sustain builds are just too much to deal with, and I want to see how Immortals are going to be able to get away from that Gnar, to get away from that weak side top lane that we've seen them play so far here, and how are they going to be able to adapt to this kind of new week-by-week meta that we're seeing?
I think what Immortals is going to rely on is the jungle support. Potluck and Joey, it's what the best teams in the world are doing right now. The lanes, yeah, the matchups matter, but it doesn't matter if you have a winning matchup when the support and jungler are always making sure that you can never take the advantage that you think you deserve from your matchup. So I think Potluck and Joey will team up and try to influence everywhere else. Potluck loves to play these carry junglers. I think he had a academy game where he had maybe 14 kills on the Graves, some crazy number like that. So I think Potluck and Joey will definitely be the two people to watch out for. They've had a lot of time to synergize together. They're the oldest standing members on the IMT lineup, so relying on them would be the wise choice if I'm on IMT.
Yeah, relying on these names again, we've seen them before as well, so they're confident names that you can put your faith and trust into here. Pretty a name that we haven't seen as much, hopefully relying on the experience and knowledge of some of these older IMT roster players here. And for me personally, I want to see how they're going to be able to adapt like their draft as well. The Gnar pick I was mentioning before, I do want to see what Topun can do in the top lane, because top lane, outside of the jungle support duo that you were mentioning, top lane has kind of been very, very big for all these teams here today. And Jenkins, we already talked about his Kennen, looks so good, and the meta's been favoring that style of play. And is Gnar going to be able to deal with it for Topun if he continues to go with that pick, or is he going to try and switch it up? Do they ban out the Kennen? How are they going to be able to deal with this top side of the map? Because that's another one of those roles where you're going to see a lot of that sustained bruiser build, where it doesn't matter how the matchup goes based off of that last game with the Renekton. It doesn't matter how that matchup goes if you get your Gore Drinker and you start these team fights and you can just sustain through them, you kind of just win.
Yeah, you do, but you're not going to get Renekton again. I really don't think. It's been 4 games, man. We've seen this champion have way too many positive matchups, so I think it'll just be getting rid of, and maybe we'll have a very different top lane thing, maybe like Camille Gragas. But to see Renekton Olaf or Renekton Hecarim, 3 games in a row, which just seem ridiculous. It's been so dominant. Clearly, people don't have an answer to it right now. It needs to be theory craft a bit better. So I say just get rid of it and go with something simpler.
Yeah, and last week, I think they were saying the Gnar until the Renekton pick was very common. This week, it's been the Gangplank we've been seeing all night. And while you do get a lot of early game pressure with the range harass, it's weird to see that Renekton is now the scaling pick that beats the Gangplank just because of his team fight presence and how much he can do with that Gore Drinker. But looks like we are getting ready to get into Champion Select in just a couple of seconds here. So I want to kind of get one last opinion from you here, Crumbs. What are you... Outside of the Renekton, what else are you hoping to see get pressured here by either one of these teams?
Jungle, baby. Jungle diff. I think Olaf has also been very powerful. I know that Udyr has been making a bigger impression globally, and I think partially it's because his synergy with crowd control and being able to offer ganks and engage, but it seems like teams have a harder time fitting Udyr into compositions and working with them. I think that Olaf is just a lot easier and a lot less likely to get caught out and be useless. You always have a ton of damage and a lot of crowd control. A lot of you're very disruptive. I think Udyr is less disruptive than an Olaf can be. So I think that champion should be prioritized, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have the jungle be pinched here. So let's see if IMT prioritize that, or they want to give Potluck another carry in the jungle like a Graves, because he's certainly proficient in that.
Well, Renekton, Olaf, Hecarim, they're all still up and available. The Udyr being the priority pick coming in by Immortals here. I'm honestly, after hearing your opinion on that matchup, I don't like this Udyr first pick. I do think that the Olaf that has just been locked in by Team Liquid here is just a lot better. We've seen it be more successful. Sure, Udyr is disruptive, as you mentioned, but it doesn't provide the same oomph that the Olaf does. It doesn't provide the damage. It doesn't provide the healing that this Olaf pick has. So I'm curious to see what is Immortals going to be doing to counter it. Very quick with the Xayah Gnar lock-in, so they're kind of just speeding through this champion select here as Lulu being picked up as the final pick in this first rotation by Team Liquid.
I like this, actually. I think Lulu is really strong right now. With Kai'Sa and Olaf, you have very good synergy. It's very annoying for Udyr to deal with, so this, to me, tells me that both teams are very prepared. They both know what they want to draft. And targeting the mid lane bans or the mid lane champion pool out of Pretty, I think, can set up Harry to have a really strong matchup. Heck, he might even just take Azir, and we're going to have a snoozer Azir Orianna matchup. Because those are the last 2 control mages that are really popular and up right now. But wait a minute.
They wouldn't.
Dogma, could it be?
You couldn't.
No. Let's not talk about it anymore. It's
Okay,
being
we're
covered.
not gonna make that mistake. We're not gonna talk about
Yeah.
it before we see it locked in here. It's gonna be the Leona, Alistar, Syndra all being banned away here. They're just kind of hovering through everything. Rel being locked in, which means that Lulu is not indeed a support pick here, but instead going into one of the solo lanes.
Top lane Lulu, baby. That's where it's at. Just a free farming lane. Very annoying. Very just all about synergizing with the team and denying top lane. And with the synergy with Yone, I am in love with what Team Liquid has. I love this champion personally. I think it's the hypest champion that has been released in a while. I'm just so surprised he hasn't been more popular. I thought people would love him just as much as they love Yasuo. Seems like he has a much harder time, but when you watch highlight plays of players like Chovy in the LCK with the Chovy highlight reels, how can you not want to play this pick? They have it. They have a Lulu. They have a Rel with it. Let's see if Harry is good enough to get all that help.
Yeah, and I think this is finally one of the first games that I'm looking at where I don't think that a team is lacking in damage. You have, you got the Olaf, Yone, the Kaisa on the red side, and then you have Azir, Nar, Xayah. Not really Udyr, but he can go in for the stun. He does a decent amount of damage with the Phoenix stance if he can sit there for a second, but it's a lot of damage out of both of these teams here. And so if there's going to be a game that I expect to be explosive and bloody, this is definitely the game that I hope to see go so aggressively here. And I love the Yone pick. I'm alongside you with on that one. I think that it's a super fun pick to see. I think that it's very aggressive, and that it really emphasizes the strength of the player here. So Harry, we're hopefully going to be able to see have a bit of a pop-off performance potentially.
Yeah, well. Yeah, Jonas pop off in two directions only, so maybe he hopes he goes the right way here. And with Olaf to synergize with him, he's really going to be strong in the team fights later. The diving power between these two and Lulu is going to be absolutely bonkers. Just picture it. Yone going in with Rel and then the Lulu ultimate on top of it is a lot of crowd control, but you need to survive the lane. That's the big issue for the Yone. Can you actually get away from the Azir and Udyr pushing you behind? The roams from Joey loves to influence the mid lane. If we get past the lanes evenly, I like what TL has going on for them, but don't sleep on IMT. There's a ton of Wombo they also have.
Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but the Xayah Rakan once again being locked in by Immortals. I do love to see the Lovers duo being picked up once again. It's been a hot minute since we've seen those two champions play together, as we are going to be hopping into the Rift here in just a second, though. It is going to be Immortals taking up the blue side and Team Liquid targeting up the red side. So the bottom lane should be an interesting lane to watch for the side of Immortals here, now that they aren't playing this Jhin either.
Okay, so you got Xayah Rakan again. So I'm liking that Xayah is making a comeback with Rakan, because by herself, not that strong, but with him, we're good. And Ayla by himself, ooh, wait a minute. Okay,
It's scary.
he knows his limits.
It was scary for a quick second there, but Ayla, as you said, knows his limits, knows not to go too far without anybody else there to support him. But I agree. I do like to see the Xayah Rakan on the bottom lane being played together again here, and it seems like my only, not even that. I was about to say Immortals don't have a way to start these fights the same way that that Team Liquid do.
Rakan.
Both of these teams do. Yeah.
Yeah, Rakan can do it.
This is the first draft where I don't really have a complaint on either side, outside of the fact that Renekton made it through and neither team picked it up. But for me personally, I love to see that we're getting a different draft here than what we've seen in the past 4 games.
I mean, that's why these teams are 4-0 and 3-1. Their drafting has been some of the best in the league as they continue to be they will be at the top. Oh, Potluck, if you just reacted a little bit faster, would have actually taken that. Instead, we'll give the ward over to Tapoon. A real bro move there. Had the sweeper. Gonna use it for it. Didn't want to maybe give the experience over.
Yeah, he's wanted to be friendly towards his top laner. Jenkins was the one that placed down the ward, so he said, you know what, it's only fair that a top laner gets to clear top laner's ward. So Amaru opting to go towards his Raptors first, and he's going to go towards his Krug second here, leaving his red buff for a last, wants to keep himself low so that he can increase his clear speed here. The lower health you are on Olaf means the faster you auto attack, which means the faster you clear here. So I actually think this is a really interesting adaptation to his jungle clear from Amaru. I love to see that he's trying his best. He's seen just how this matchup has played throughout the day in terms of Olaf and Udyr we've seen all day. They just farm. So he's trying to speed up his clear here. Unfortunately, though, he is falling just slightly behind Potluck nonetheless.
So he will actually really outpace him if he plays this right, because the idea behind this clear is that the buff camps take 5 minutes to spawn, the other ones take much less. So if you just prioritize killing the small ones first, in theory, they should be reviving before the buff. So you can get more clears of the smaller camps before the buff. So prioritizing them means that when he bases, he'll have Krugs and Raptors before Potluck, and he's trying to keep accelerating these few camps to outpace the Udyr. In the initial stage, it might be a little bit rough, but he's still going to end up in the bot side with Pry on his bot lane fighting for the same scuttle. So it doesn't hurt the Olaf at all, and it should accelerate him if he can get a good recon and start getting those Raptors and Krugs off the respawn.
And I love to see this is going to be the first game in the series as well. Hold on, though. Joey's going in onto Yon there. He's going to have to back away from this one. Dashes back to Keith in order to provide that shield. But Yon, that's the Blade Caller, though. Level 3 for the bottom side of Immortals, doing so much work for them there. And just like that, Team Liquid has lost Prio on the bot side. Potluck will be able to pick up the bottom side of Scuttle Crab for all the work done by the bottom lane of Immortals.
The prio in the bot lane was just too big, and also in the mid lane. They're going to try to get a crab in the top side as well, but look at Udyr, right? He's following this as well. They definitely want to fight it, and because Armao doesn't have a stun, neither does Yone here. It's not charged on his knockup. He's not going to be able to clear this very quickly. So the end result is that Udyr gets to go back to the top side and maybe go for the Gromp, while Olaf can return to his camps and clear as well.
Ooh.
Lulu first bloods him?
Jenkins, I wasn't ready. You're not allowed to do that. That's illegal. You can't make a solo play on Lulu in the top lane. That's supposed to be a support, but Jenkins finds first blood for Team Liquid in this game. He's able to just get a solo kill onto this Gnar. Meanwhile, bottom side of the map, it looks like Immortals are able to find a return kill of their own as Keith finds a kill onto Yon there. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see that one. Hopefully, production can get us a replay of that one, but just like that, this game already starting off.
Yeah, Lulu winning top lane like this is a big deal. The fact that she got ahead is going to be a big problem because she's going to be able to just perma shove in the Gnar, a big deal. And then the bot lane as well. So luckily we get an even trade. So we still don't really know what direction this game is starting to tip to. But the jungle influence will, I think, dictate where it's going to start to fall. Because even though Lulu got a kill, trying to help out a Lulu lane is no way to win a game. Whereas killing the AD, getting your AD ahead is definitely a big ticket item for IMT. So I think that the kill that they got into the bottom lane will have bigger consequences than the solo kill of Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm expecting Jenkins is going to be going that Moonstone Staff of Flowing Water. We do have the replay coming up here from the bottom side. It looks like they were just too low. Gets the knockup. A very clean, very easy engage for the bottom lane of Immortal. Splash forward from Keith there. Not sure if it was necessary, but he does secure the kill for himself instead of letting Ignite do the finishing off there. So better safe than sorry there, getting the kill into your AD carry. Massive for the side of Immortals here. But as I was saying, Moonstone in the top lane on your solo laner is going to mean that that kill for Keith there is a little bit more important because it just provides so much more damage and teamfight accessibility.
So Keith just control warded try so that Potluck could get by, but there is going to be a ward in the river for TL to spot this out, and it is unfortunate for them because you see how the cannons are fighting. The blue cannon is going to die sooner, which means that red side is still going to keep pushing, but they're going to just slowly start to stack up a wave and then crash that big one because it looks like the junglers are aching to solo this dragon, and so the lanes need to really fight for priority because that will allow them to move into the river and help, whether it's their own jungler trying to solo it or collapsing on somebody that wants to do it with a sneak.
Yeah, and that's the second time we've seen Amaro. Now the third time we're seeing Amaro in this mid lane here is he's just been walking back and forth, stealing away a little bit of CS and experience from his mid laner. And Harry here, Potluck is going to be able to burst out that top lane Scuttle Crab, even though the Olaf started rotating up towards it. And it looks like Amaro is not okay with that decision, so he's going to be walking far forward here quite aggressively. Might be looking to steal away this blue buff, but he doesn't know that Potluck is sitting in that bush. Everyone can see what this Olaf is doing here, so Immortals will rotate over here. Stun comes out out. Topone looks like he wants to try and get in on this fight, but already mid laners for both teams have started rotating over. Jenkins is here as well now. They're just trying to fight over this blue buff, trying to do as much work over the wall as he can with Azir. Has no mana. Who's going to be able to pick up the blue? It is going to be Amaro that finishes that one off with quick smite, and Team Liquid successfully find the steal there.
Ooh, Team Liquid needed to get out of there because the fight at the blue was interesting. Both knew that it was going to be a 3-on-3, but I had my eyes glued to the minimap because while that whole thing was happening, there was a single person from the bot lane making their way over. It was Joey. Joey was at the mid lane, almost in the topside river when the blue buff was taken. So if Joey would have made it there on time, that would have really turned the fight. And that's that killer instinct from the support to be able to roam and understand, hey, this bot lane fight is not going to be nearly as relevant to the outcome of this game as the potential that this top 3v3 could have. So it's best that I roam up there and see if I can help my team out.
Great communication coming in by Immortals to make sure that they have their support already in transit when they feel that a team fight's about to happen, using their advantages. Topun, though, he jumps for it. He's able to find a great Gnar ultimate flash forward in order to get the stun onto Jenkins here. The Lulu has forced to use the wild growth to keep herself alive. She does not have flash available for at least another minute or so, and Topun loses the Mega Gnar, trying to keep going. One more auto attack will give him the speed boost, but the slowdown is going to be enough. Is going to be able to find one more boomerang toss. The axe over the wall provides the slow, and Jenkins, you can laugh, you can put up the emotes because you made it out. The white flag to say surrender, and now such a poor spot for this Gnar in the top lane to find himself in.
So close, man. You know that that's the opportunity that Gnar is always looking for when he's losing lane to one of these champions that's just trying to harass him. Just hoping, I hope he commits to the turret so I can ult him and clear the waves, and then he starts tanking it. He had no flash, but there was no stun to immediately follow up, and despite those boulder tosses being pretty impressively aimed, the boomerang did not come in. Was not able to trade 1-for-1. They lose Herald, and another kill in the top lane. Luckily, his own jungler is able to get something in return with the bot lane pressure, but it's not much, and yet he just used his W, so that's why he's not able to stun the Lulu right away. And so here it looks like Lulu's making it out. He has it back up, flashes for it, and then this Q is beautiful. I mean, that is just incredible prediction. And then this one is the one that you really hate to see. I think the best thing he could have done maybe is wait for him to be in the brush and then chuck it out from there. Because he should know that all that matters is that he just needs to hit it one time and he gets the kill. He shouldn't think of two tries for that.
Absolutely. It's one of those situations where it's a make or break deal. You have to land that one ability and you get it, but unfortunately, he played everything right, just wasn't quite enough, and that's what happens when you start falling behind one of these supports in the top lane. You can't quite kill them. You shouldn't be getting killed either, and why we were so surprised that Jenkins was able to find that solo kill, but without being able to secure that kill, it means that Topun is just falling so far behind. Rest of the map for Immortals, though, is doing all right, and they find themselves completely even in gold at this point. And a lot of that is coming in through the mid lane. Pretty sitting at a nice, almost 20 CS advantage. He's going to be going forward. That's a Shreem shuffle. Yone trying to use the ultimate to escape, but no, he auto-targets onto the last champion that he hits with that ultimate, meaning Potluck is there for the point-and-click stun. Ayla so close to dying, a sliver of health, but is able to flash away from that one. Somebody canceled an auto or thought they were already dead, and it means Team Liquid gets to walk away with just one less death.
Every time you see Joey and Potluck inside a brush that is not warded and the enemy team is walking towards them, you just know someone's gonna die, and that's exactly what happened. That was a free kill onto Harry. The second he used that Q to dash in, I knew, all right, you're dead. You're not getting out of this. The Azir shuffle is gonna be way too easy. Joey has all his summoners willing to commit them for the kill for his mid lane, and they almost get two for that. I mean, you did burn the Azir flash looking for another one, but Azir is now off to a great start, and this was a concern with the Yone. Yes, he's strong and hyphy, but can you get out of lane without being at a deficit? So far, it seems like that's just a feature of Yone, that you're going to get out of lane behind.
To give him credit, the melee versus range matchup, especially in the mid lane, is very difficult at times.
That's all your matchups.
That's all your matchups, though, so Harry doing a decent job of being able to stay at least somewhat close. He's only sitting about 900 gold behind, and it's a lot of that difference is just because Amaro has spent so much time in his lane earlier in the game, that a lot of the waves got either shoved out by both of those members, and a lot of the EXP was being taken away from him because Amaro fell behind early during the first couple of levels in this game. But here we see once again Immortals trying to make a pick around this mid lane here. Potluck is going to force Amaro to use that ultimate Ragnarok used to walk away from the bear stance. So besides that, not a whole lot used by either side.
No, not a lot used just yet, since both teams are very happy with their scaling and eventually what happens when they all group up, since they have so many synergies that depend upon stacking members' abilities together. So Team Liquid definitely has that, and IMT, when you've got Gnar and Azir, well, you already saw what T1 did last night. Actually, I had a little clip of the Gnar and Azir combination wall from the soldiers into the ultimate from Gnar can be a very devastating combo. Harder to pull off than it sounds, but when you do, it is devastating.
You love to see those like almost unintentional but intentional combos where it's like a Vayne condemned into a Jarvan wall. Same thing with Azir and Gnar here. Like, you live for those because you can't ever quite coordinate it that perfectly, but when it happens, it's just so beautiful to see, and hopefully we'll see something like that come out of Immortals today. But first we need to see if they're going to be able to find that kind of a fight for themselves. Rift Herald was dropped on the top side of the map by Amaro here. Looks like it was a last second place downer, maybe just trying to add extra pressure for his team, for Jenkins here, since he does have this wave crashing in one more time. So this Rift Herald will connect and put some extra gold into the pockets of this Lulu. Has already completed Moonstone and trying to get that water, that Staff of Flowing Water completed as quickly as possible. And a huge crash there for Team Liquid. Oh no. Dead. Harry, not again. He's not going to be going down just by yet. He re-engages. Pretty is actually the one that goes down here as he used all of his mobility in order to get on into this Yone here, but with Amaro showing up, he cannot escape.
Yeah, the Udyr without flash is really not as hyphy as you think. You're like, oh, he's here, he can do something. Oh, wait a minute. That's not really how the champion is going to do something in this fight, whereas the Olaf has a great time into the Azir. Kaisa can ult here.
Ooh, Hexflex flash over the wall, and that's going to be the combo coming in from Ayla as well. Is going to be CC. Kaisa trying to go into the Killer Instinct is not going to be able to finish off the kill, but Ayla will finally get that last tick of the Ignite in there, and so it is one kill picked up on the bottom side. Keith goes down.
All right, good kill right at the time that Dragon was spawning, so Team Liquid knew what the objective was, and IMT just is not really thinking of what to do on the map right now. They were all about the reset. You have Udyr and Azir who were on the base, just barely making it out, while the Gnar was still dealing with the Herald from the top lane. So a focus into the bottom lane that IMT did not react to gets Team Liquid at 1,000 gold lead, but it still feel like they've got a lot of tools to work with because Joey still has flash up and continue to make plays on the map as Ayla doesn't have his own, and there's always a Udyr you can team up with and gang on whoever has it.
Yeah, and with that, we are at 1 apiece in Dragons, and this game looking pretty good so far. I like to see the commitment coming out by both of these teams here. We're seeing a lot more fighting early on in the stages of this game, and so far, members that we're looking at, for myself at least, Amaro's 2-0-1 for himself, sitting at 20 CS up as well. This Olaf pick, once again, really showing dividends, and now that Moonstone has been completed by the side of Team Liquid, we've been wondering where they're going to find their lead because Yone has been falling behind, but it's in this jungle support, as you've been mentioning. But for Team Liquid this time around, rather than for the side of Immortals.
Well, if they are to find that lead, it comes from that team fighting. It comes from Ayla and Harry, I think, combining. You'd obviously want to have Jenkins be involved in this fight since he's been so strong, but his lead is only going to be augmented by helping somebody else out. Lulu really cannot press an advantage on her own, so if they can group these members up, it'll be really nice. It'll be cool to see what Olaf and Lulu can do paired together as well, since there is no healing reduction yet, but I would really not count IMT out. It's only 1,000 gold down. You have an Azir and the Zaya that have farmed very well. Everyone's keeping up in CS. It's just a matter of stopping the initial brunt of the laning force that has been top and bottom for RTL.
And we see Amaro walking up, first brick will be picked up by Team Liquid here. They're going to just face tank that turret in order to finish it off. Don't even use the Rift Herald that Amara was able to pick up for himself on that Olaf as well. Second, Shelly picked up for the side of Team Liquid here, and hopefully they're going to be able to use the second Herald the same way they used the first. We talked about it earlier in the day, but Herald can be used in a multitude of ways, and if they just hold on to it for a couple of minutes here, the next Dragon will be spawning in about 2:45, but we have an engage going on the bottom side here. Joey is going to be trying to disengage using the quickness in order to stop Ayla from continuing forward using that magnetic force there, and it's just going to be health bars and ultimates traded by both supports.
Just a terrible time to engage, and it's not because Keith and Joey were healthy, but look at the itemization. Kaisa had not had her completed item. You're dealing with a Kraken Slayer, Keith, that also has the ultimate, and you engage on the support. It's not going to happen. I like that Yeon did not commit for that and just let Ayla walk away. No flashes burn, so it's not the end of the world, but should look twice before taking those fights.
You always want to look twice before taking those fights because itemization is huge when it comes to these early game team fights here. Now the Gale Force has been completed by Yon, so he's feeling a little bit more confident. Will have his upgraded Icathian Rain as well, so he will be looking to take some of these fights, especially if he can find an isolated position onto either Keith or Joey there. So with no ultimates, they gotta wait for those cooldowns to come back up, as blue buff just gonna be donated over to Pretty here. He's sitting Pretty in the mid lane, as well as he's still continuing to have that 20 CS advantage for himself, pushing out these waves time and time again. And Azir putting this game on a bit of a timer. Yone, also a great scaling pick, but doesn't quite have the same team fight potential, I would feel, as an Azir, because of his ability to just zone out this Olaf, zone out the Yone if he commits everything without being able to get onto the Azir in the first place.
Lulu just showed up on that control ward, so they know that Team Liquid is sending 5 members for this fight. It's a minute on the dragon fight, and Azir is teleporting back. That blue buff can help a lot and maintain pressure in the mid lane and hopefully have him assist, but TL already has 5 members. Tapoon is mega with teleport available, but where is he going to go? To that control ward? Here we go.
Oh, no, that's going to be the counter gauge coming in from TL here. Joey thought that he had the quickness, but he did not have the follow-up, and now it is TL that is going forward. They're trying to find the way onto Keith. One more auto attack from Yona is going to be able to finish off the 80 carry from the Immortals side, and Joey has to try and back away as quickly as possible here. Team Liquid, they only find 1, almost find 2, but now Lulu has done her job. She has forced Immortals back, and they're going to try and clear out this bottom side of the jungle before rotating over towards this dragon.
I am surprised that IMT actually lost a member on that, because you saw through the control ward that Team Liquid had a lot of members coming out into this side. The Lulu, I believe, was spotted, so that death, I think, could have been avoided since Nar was already getting something in the top side, but Pretty does not have his soldier available, but will be able to dash fairly soon as Harry goes back. They can all be escorted safely from the top side of the map back to the middle. Let's see how this fight went down, because it starts on Joey, who dashes in, gets a good quickness, but as they're looking for this fight, be quick to learn. Well, really the only thing Keith could have done is to ult and see that the Rel was going to go after him right away, but you see the speed with which Rel can CC you, and it's very difficult for the Zaya to actually get something like that.
Just when you think that you've caught your way onto Rel, she turns it around and engages back onto you guys. We talked about it during Champion Select, and here we see it in practice. Team Liquid find a kill for themselves here. They also were able to pick up a second Drake for themselves. Meanwhile, Immortals, in response, they tried to clear out some of the top lane jungle. They're able to steal away the red buff from Olaf. I guess that's a really good thing to do. Olaf and double 80 carries, double crit carries here on the side of the Team Liquid. One of them would have liked red buff, but it's not going to mean the end of the world for Team Liquid. At the end of the day, they do get the kill, they do get the Drake, so they're slowly working their way towards that infernal soul, towards that mountain soul, I should say. But it's still at least another 10 minutes out here, and now that we've just crested over that 20-minute mark, Baron has spawned onto the map, and already we're seeing Immortals. They don't want to give over any more early advantages to Team Liquid.
They absolutely have no reason to. I think the Azir is getting really fed. He's farming like a demon. 241 CS in 1 minute into the game. He's doing a great job here, and his damage will be crucial here. Keith has ultimate, so this engage is wild, and Joey tried to capitalize on it, but nothing ventured, nothing gained for either of these squads, and so they will just back off and return to their respective lanes as Lulu goes top and Nara goes bottom.
I love that pseudo engage there from Team Liquid. I feel like they just punked Keith or something like that because they hex flashed over the wall and looked like they were gonna full commit to the Zion. Joey panic response with a full commitment to using the ultimate, going in, dashes forward, and then goes back to Keith, uses everything in his kit to try and keep him safe, and Ayla just walked away. Once he was finished with the Hextech flash over the wall, he just walked out. So Immortals now missing that key initiation ability for themselves, as Team Liquid are now gathering around this middle side of the map here. They're trying to pressure this mid lane outer turret here. They can't quite find an inside track, but this entire time Jenkins and Harry are still split pushing. So a wave will be crashing on the top side, and you know, it's not the end of the world, but a CS differential that you're losing that entire wave topside. It's the small things.
Well, Azir goes to catch it, so he could still be fine here. And talking about the small things in the side lanes, I think Harry will just be looking to get a lot of gold from these side lanes. He's hard to contest. I think Azir won't be able to fight him there. So him being down here should be a good thing for Team Liquid to start getting ahead in this game, because the lead right now, 2,000, 2,600, just a little bit, but the farm that the carries have on the side of IMT is just huge, and it's very difficult to quantify the gold that a champion like Lulu has, because the value you're getting is in the grouping phase. So you really need to make sure that she's together with your carries the whole time so that she is valuable. Otherwise, her gold gain isn't really doing much.
Yeah, and Staff of Flowing Water has been completed by Jenkins here, so we like to see that Groomstone coming in. Jenkins is really going to start being able to pop off in these mid-game team fights. Young is going to get caught out of position a little bit here. There, the Kill Instinct used, the Gale Force also used as a follow-up, with the Flash and Heal is still available, and he's had to use everything in the kitchen sink in order to keep himself alive, but he has kept himself alive. Ayla, though, does not keep himself alive. Joey is going in. He's going to be able to find his way out to the Young, who does not have any abilities left. Not as Harry is trying to redeem this fight, but is not going to be enough, as Azir zoning off the rest of TL here. He's putting in so much work. Pretty gets a shut down into Amaro. That's going to beat the Olaf going down, and at the end of the day, it is a 3-for-1. Whoa. But Harry is not quite done. He finds one. He's barely not able to find Joey. They're walking away with the sliver of health. It seems like we have a trend today where all of the supports just don't quite die, but at the end of the day, it is going to be a 2-for-3, but it is Immortals that find quite a successful team fight for themselves there.
We're gonna need more eyes to watch these fights, man. They are all over the place. There's so much happening, because it starts with Yon being caught by himself, but it's not a flash Udyr, so the engage is not a surprising. You know that he's ghosting at you with the chem tank. And then Team Liquid's re-engage, because Ayla tried it was too low, but I think it was really Harry with our Mao and Jenkins that really got a lot of the work done. Together, they did so much more damage than I think anybody could have anticipated. And now they're even stronger because they didn't have the second item completed before that fight. They were still on components, and the ones they just picked up are very important. It's Sterex Gauge and Infinity Edge.
Sterex Gauge and Infinity Edge, two huge completed items for the side of Team Liquid here, especially considering that Yone now gets his 100% crit chance off of that purchase. So Olaf, some more survivability. Yone, some more burst damage here, as Drake is going to be spawning in just about 5 seconds. Immortals already have the inside track, but Team Liquid look like they might be bleeding towards that Baron buff if Immortals ever fully commit to the Dragon. Fortunately, though, Dragon can be completed by 2 people, so Team Liquid stick around in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Pretty and Potluck both go down to the Dragon. They finish that one off. Now, it's a panic start on this Baron here. That one should be seen out by the side of Immortals here. And Team Liquid, they have to try and burst this Baron down extremely quickly. Harry's trying to play Staller for a Topu in there, but it's not going to be enough. The rest of Immortals has shown up here. They're stalling this one out. 2,000 health on the Baron. It's going to be smited. It's going to be finished off, but it's Team Liquid that finds that one. A re-engage explosive team by Yone is able to find a bunch of members with his ultimate, but Immortals are able to just walk away with this one. They find one kill them for themselves, but it is going to be Team Liquid that walk away with 4 Baron buffs.
I really respect the commitment out of Team Liquid there. That was a very difficult choice to stick around and finish the Baron when you know that the Udyr can potentially steal, that there's a lot of team fighting tools on the side of IMT, but they held fast to it, and it's always better to commit to the choice together, and they all did it. So the fact that they stayed with it, trust our Mao to get the smite, was a good choice there. You're going to have to play it. That's just the way League of Legends is now. You're going for 50-50s or chances at things getting stolen. It's just a thing of League of Legends. You need to know how to outplay it, and they do it. They walk away with Baron, only lose a single member, And this now puts him in a position to go for tower dives, or maybe just let Harry get crazy in the side lanes, because he's catching up in the farm department. Azir is only 26 ahead of him, and with the itemization he's stacking up already, you can tell that his engage can help to one-shot these carries very easily. He dashed over the wall and half HP Tapoon in Meganar.
A massive pick, or a massive chunk onto the top lane tank engage for the side of Immortals there. I love to see this Baron being picked up by TL as well. I think it was like just a very smart macro call, because they're only giving over the second Drake to Immortals there. So by deciding to shove out the mid wave, now Team Liquid has to answer that before they can even answer the Baron call. And now that they picked up this Baron, they're going to be able to pressure these waves and get arguably a much more effective use out of this buff here, because it's still another 10 minutes until Immortals are going to be able to look towards completing that soul, if they even get the next dragon. So Team Liquid can use this current buff to accelerate their current gold lead. They are sitting at about 3k gold advantage, and with this Baron buff, hopefully they can break some more turrets, open up the map a little bit, and continue to accelerate themselves towards winning this game, since they did decide to give over that dragon instead of putting themselves on soul point.
Well, let's see what they can do to win this game right now. Ayla has flash and has ultimate, so there's a good time to tower dive here if they can find the opportunity. Looks like they're just letting Harry do all the work, though, on the side lanes. And the big problem that they have is that they haven't cleared out these two wards. You see where Ayla and Kai'Sa are at? That lets IMT know exactly where the dive or rotations are coming from, so they're never worried about a dive or a threat of an out rotation. So they can just give up the turret and be confident in pushing up, knowing that that Team Liquid is not going to go for more. So Team Liquid needs to use sweepers here to make sure that IMT doesn't know where they're rotating. That gives you the better chance for a single member of IMT to walk into a fog of war, overextend a little bit, and you get a pick.
Yeah, ward coverage helping out Immortals here and slowing down this Baron push for sure. It looks like the Baron is going to be wearing off in just a couple of seconds here, if it's not already worn off. And this entire time, Pretty still farming up, still catching that entire wave. So the only turret that's gone down off of the back of that Baron push will be the mid lane inner turret. And we were saying that Pretty has been farming like a monster. He's sitting at over 300 farm already at 29 minutes into this game. So he is continuing at that breakneck pace. He has completed 3 items for himself, has the Seeker's arm guard, so he's working towards that. Zanya's out well. So in a little bit here, just a couple more minutes, it means that this Azir is going to be pumping out some massive DPS, and if you ever try to dive onto him using this Yone, using this Olaf, it's going to be a bit difficult. He will have that golden time available for himself.
All right, well, he doesn't have the stopwatch just yet, so he's going to be very safe on the side of Pretty. Going to count on his ultimate and the flash for now, but with this inside track on the dragon, Team Liquid will need to really fight for mid control before they get down to the river. Might even be willing to trade tier 2s and a little bit of gold on the side of Yone. I think Ayla is fine though, dashing out. Azir turret to push down the mid lane, and Xayah might just go solo. It's going to be a trade, it looks like. Either a trade or Team Liquid just running at him for an engage.
Yeah, Team Liquid haven't forced the fight yet because Yone is still rotating over here, but it's going to be Immortals to start this one off. Joey is able to find his way onto Yeon, and that is going to be Yeon picked off here. Now they're trying to continue this one onto Taramao here, and he's going to be picked off as well. The Team Liquid AD carry and jungler will be going down just before this dragon spawns, and that's going to be massive because that means that Immortals can push down this mid lane inner turret and go to pick up the Drake all for free. Potluck already starting up their soul point, or their third dragon of the game here. That's going to put Immortals back into a position of power here, and they're going to even try and look to break this inhibitor maybe.
2 members down. Are they gunning for more? I don't think so. They'll just back off. But that looked really boosted on the side of Team Liquid, but I actually think I know what they were going for, because the fact that Yeon was in range of Joey to engage with the flash is a credit to Joey's engage, but if you looked at the minimap, it seemed like they weren't going to contest the dragon. They were going to look for a fight. Harry was collapsing after taking the tier 2 mid lane to look for a team fight. So the fact that IMT engaged before Harry had a chance to join, I think just shows that IMT figured, well, we've got a few seconds on a 4v5 advantage. If we can pull the trigger now, we will win just from the numbers advantage. They saw it. They capitalized on it, got a lot from it, and now Team Liquid, despite having the gold lead, feels like they're in the back foot. They're going to try to rush this one down, get a second Baron of the game. But there are double scryers on the side of IMT.
Not again for the side of Team Liquid here. Immortals are going to be able to see this one getting start up here. Potluck, is he going to be able to find his way into the pit? Down to 5,000 health. Potluck trying to get in there. That's going to be Joey that goes in, but he dropped down to extremely low. Uses on his to buy some time, but it's Yon that is able to find his way into the backside of this fight, and it's going to be Yon and Yone that finds some kills for themselves. Instead, Harry is able to find an execution. The killer instant from Kaisa finds a second 80 carry, and your mid laner down. You have no more carries on the side of Immortals, and just like that, the second Baron being picked up by TL here. They may have lost that last fight for the Drake, but again, they find themselves another Baron in trade for a Dragon.
It was just a matter of time, Icarus. We knew that you just have too much engage. It's bound to happen that the Yone and Rel are gonna combo together, and they did so well enough that Azir didn't even get his ultimate off. He couldn't even flash. There was no way out of there. And then you also have Jenkins with his CC to help those two along, making it so difficult for IMT to actually fight. And despite them having initially picked off the Kaisa, they're now in the back foot, losing that Baron and having lost tier 2s in the top lane.
Yeah, and the second Baron buff is going to be even scarier for the side of Immortals here, because now it is going to be the inhibitor turrets that are being pressured. It may have taken the entirety of the Baron buff last time in order to break an inner turret, but an inner turret compared to an inhibitor turret is a world of difference, because once those super minions start pouring into the base, it means that Immortals have one more thing to worry about. They have to worry about their open Nexus, they have to worry about their Nexus turrets and the extra push that will be going through that lane. And seeing as how Dragon Soul has not been picked up by either team just quite yet, you know, it's still an avenue for Team Liquid to take in order to try and win this game. But Harry going forward, he's looking for the solo kill. He put in so much work on his opponent there, and now he goes back. The rest of Immortals is there to try to help out their Gnar, but is not going to be able to burst through Harry because Jenkins is there. The Moonstone, the shields, and the heals coming in by Team Liquid there keeps the Yone alive.
That survivability is so high. Moonstone, but then you also have Bloodthirster, Shield Bow, Stopwatch, and then building Guardian Angel. Just a big pain for IMT, because then you're like, well, should we even focus him? He's going in. They're gonna go try to get the Olaf, but he has ultimate. He can get out if he really wants to, and we'll pop it and run.
Yeah, Sterak's Gauge popped, Ragnarok as well, but now look at Harry. He's behind the entire enemy team. He's going to get ran down by Potluck. He's going to be able to survive long enough. He does have Jenkins there in order to help him out. The Zanya's perfectly timed in order to keep himself alive here, and now the rest of Team Liquid has been able to rotate over here. They go back in. Yon and Yone once again. The combos, the Y-O-N-E's going in here, and they're going to be able to find a, they're not going to be able to find a kill, but they do so much damage to Immortals. Instead, though, Pretty, with an amazing ultimate, is going to be able to buy time for his team and find a double kill for Immortals. This game is back and forth. Just as you think that Team Liquid have a team fight in their hands, it is Azir that pulls it back.
If only Harry had his ultimate, that would have been a wipe and a game on the side of Team Liquid, but he didn't have it. He had used it earlier to harass Tapoon, and now IMT thinks, two-man down, go for the game, get me out of here. They have Baron, but this is the opportunity. They're trying to seize the day here. 5,000 gold, can they do it?
Are they going to be looking to end here? Joey's going forward. He finds a double quickness here, but Olaf with the Ragnarok. Olaf with the immortality. He's going to be able to give himself life here, and now he has the help of Jenkins. Botluck a little too far underneath turret. Pretty a little too far as well, and Harry is alive. Harry is back in order to be able to make sure that he finishes off the Azir. Their one thorn in their side has gone down, and he immediately is teleporting into the bottom side of the map. He's going to be able to pick up this bottom lane inner turret. The rest of Team Liquid, though, they're trying to run down Immortals. They're maybe looking to end here if possible. They can't back because the rest of Team Liquid is quickly on Immortals' heels.
They see 3 members and they will chase them down. It's at least 1 inhibitor, but if the rest of Team Liquid can path to the top side, they'll get 2. There's no wave just yet, though, so it just gets escorted now. They're gonna go for 1 inhibitor, maybe rotate to the mid lane. There are pings, but Dragon is also up. It would be denying the soul from IMT. TP, they want to end the game now too. They don't need 2 inhibitors.
They want to end the game, but instead of going for the dive, they're going to be focusing the Nexus turret. One Nexus turret is going down. Look at the healing from Olaf. Amor is going to be there. He's going to be taking so much sustain. Jenkins is also providing a lot of help with the Moonstones. They've got the second Nexus turret, and before there's even any time for Immortals to react, the Nexus goes down, and Team Liquid stay undefeated.
That was a really nice end to the game. I like that IMTA was like, well, we gotta end it now. It seems like it's out of our hands, but it wasn't the right play at the end of the day. They got outplayed by Team Liquid's defense. The Olaf, Lulu, Yone combination, the bread and butter of the comp. Very strong in the defense, and then they just chased them down to end the game. I think the only thing I could think of for IMT there would have been to actually split off when you're retreating, when you know you're not under sight, and maybe try to recall in one of the brushes very early on. That way you maybe get one or two members that can make it in time and then clear out the way, but it didn't happen and they lose the game.
It's such an explosive end to the game. Like, I don't think either of us are really prepared for that ending to come in from Team Liquid, but they capitalize on Immortals overextending just a hair. Unfortunately, Joey goes underneath the turrets there, can't quite get the pickup or the follow-up that he needs in order to finish off anyone from Team Liquid, and then Harry revives, teleports into the bottom lane, and honestly, Team Liquid really forcing that advantage there and saying, hey, you know, you still got two members down, and we were able to pick up an inhibitor plus get this wave into the turrets. We could try and end here. So really well played there by Team Liquid, and we see now why they're sitting at 5-0, why they're able to be the top team in the academy is because of their shot calling, because of the commitment that they have to, hey, this is the play and we're gonna stick to it. And that's the kind of communication we're looking for in some of these academy rosters.
Yeah, good macro play, good drafting, and synergistic engages. We did see the wombo happen a few times. We hadn't seen it all day from most of our teams, and here it was, Team Liquid, the #1 academy team, showing it off for good reason.
Yeah, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw it over to one last delay here as... Oh, we have no break, production is telling me here. So we do actually have our interview available for you guys. So with that, Jenkins is going to be joining us on the cast today. Jenkins, the top laner from the winning team on Team Liquid. Welcome to the cast. How are you feeling after that victorious game that's keeping you guys in first place?
I am chilling. That was a good win. I felt that one. It was well deserved. I locked in the Lulu. Oh man. You have to be confident in yourself to lock in Lulu.
Dude, you got a solo kill. Like, is that normal? Are you getting solo kills in lane in your scrims as his champion?
Yeah. I mean, I knew. I was like, oh, he took domination, and I was like, PP left. He doesn't know, and he died. I was like, oh, cool.
What did she have? Wait, he went full domination secondary?
Yeah, he went domination secondary. Fleet, domination, and I knew like the lane was like one from there.
Yeah, I think every time I've seen it, you gotta go fleet and then the green
Resolve?
tree just or try to barely live. Yeah,
Resolve for the tankiness, but I mean, you got the solo kill. You guys played really well, but Immortals definitely putting you to the test there. It was a back and forth the entire time, and I want to go back to that Baron that you guys were able to rush. You got a couple of quick Barons picked up, and is that kind of like where you feel your guys' biggest strength is coming from, is that communication on being able to execute upon these plays? Because you guys got two quick Barons where you just snap decision, got it, and then as well with ending there, snap decision, you guys finished the game off there. How are you guys feeling in terms of communication? Because it seems like so far that you guys have the best commitment to any objective you guys out of any of the LCS Academy teams I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like our team has a lot of trust in each other, especially with like objective calls. We think that we can commit for objectives because we hold on. I just need to rethink. I don't. It's just, yeah, just the trust in each other that we can do the objective and we know what to do in those situations. Like if the people are coming in and we're like, oh, we can just burst it, we'll just do it. Everyone, we'd rather all make the same play and have it go wrong than like everyone be on a different page. So I think that's what we have over other teams right now.
of course, that's a really wise move. And last time I spoke to you guys after you won, we're talking to Ayla, and he was saying how he's learning a lot from Core JJ, whether it's bot lane matchups or champions, and now from the main squad you have Alfari, who's popping off in the top lane. Are you learning from him? Are you talking to the top lanes in the LCS in your main team to maybe pick up a few tips here and there?
Yeah, I mean, my laning got a lot better from last year because I went to Korea during the off season and I think almost hit Challenger. I was like, I think 3 games away. And on right now during the season, I've been doing a lot of 1v1s on the side with Alfari. I think I've learned a lot about how early lane phase should be played from it. Yeah, I mean, besides that, just looking at other like Korean streamers and playing 1v1s with Alfari, that's all I'm getting all my knowledge from.
Nice. Congrats on that almost challenge.
That's a huge feat for sure. And I mean, you're learning from the pros, and Crumbs was asking it in the last interview. I'll ask you as well. You've been in Academy for a while now. We saw you last year, coming back this year, and you said that your laning has improved. And so I want to kind of get an idea from you. Where are you looking to take all this knowledge? Are you hoping to get into LCS? What are your future goals with your career here moving on? Because you're performing exceptionally well so far, and you know, are you hoping to transition this onto the main stage, or what are your end goals for your Academy season this time around?
Yeah, of course I'm looking to always move to LCS. I mean, ideally I make it to Worlds too, right? That's like the dream goal. I went as a sub last year and I felt that the experience I got from watching scrims and like everyone trying to win Worlds was very helpful, because in Academy it's like even if you win Academy, it's not guaranteed that you move up. So you should always be trying to improve to get better to move up to LCS. Even if you don't win, as long as you're playing like standout, like different styles. Like here, this game I played Lulu. Other games I'm like on the Camille or like Kennen and stuff. I think that I want teams to know that I can play these things and I could be good for the further team.
I think if anything, having seen your growth is getting the attention of a lot of teams. So they're like, "Oh, Jenkins is here," but now they're like, "Wait a minute, Jenkins is popping off. Jenkins is playing more than Kennen. Jenkins is doing a lot more." So I think whatever you're doing, it's working. It's showing in the games.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for joining us on the desk today, Jenkins. Congratulations on your win. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow as well. Hopefully, you guys can keep up the streak of being undefeated. But thank you so much for joining us today on the interview.
Yep, thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, with that wraps up everything for us here today on LCS Academy. This is week 3, day 1, but we do have a day 2 for you as well. So tune in tomorrow as these teams are going to continue to play. I think we should have some kind of schedule up on screen for you guys in just a second here. But either way, hopefully we can see some more exciting games. I'm super excited to see TL continue their rampage through the rest of the season. 5-0 so far. They've placed off against Immortals, so they have their first solid win here in terms of playing against another top Academy team, and I'm really excited to see where they keep going from here.
It's the match against C9. That one's for all the marbles, Icarus.
It's the one for all the marbles. But for myself, for Crumbs here, and for everybody that is on the production today that has worked with us here, we thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.